Hello and welcome to Euphoria episode 9 ahead of week 2 of our spring split. We just finished our 3-day weekend, 3 games, and we're joined by the almost undefeated leader, new mid laner of Astralis. Leader is his name. He might also be the leader. We dealt a lot with jokes about your name.
Do you have a boat?
Week. Are you
as the LIDERship?
In LIDERship?
Yeah, I saw it.
You saw it? He was watching.
He sounds so disappointed in you.
I couldn't believe it. Like, half of the segment is you guys making joke about my name. Why am I even watching this?
We need to make.
That's why we had to bring you on for more jokes about your name.
It's reaction content.
It is.
Put the episode on the laptop right now and we'll just watch him watch the episode for an hour and just keep the camera on him.
You have streamer brain now.
Streamer brain.
It's a problem.
That's the content right there.
Yeah, but I was feeling, it was obviously a pretty exciting week 1. We can talk more about the individual performances, but I think first and foremost, welcome back.
Thank you.
To the LEC.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, and I think definitely a strong debut. You've had some rocky starts in the past, I think, coming in. Obviously, you're a guy that's been hyped up since your solo queue rise forever. I remember Deficio, before he worked for Misfits, being like, this guy is the next big thing, showing me a random Yasuo montage. It wasn't on your channel that someone had made leader, god of Yasuo, and he's like, this kid's it. This kid's the prodigy. So you've been here, you've been around. Now finally getting a fresh start, hitting the ground running, I think is big because you've had a lot of I think difficult debuts at top level competition, whether it's here or LCS. It kind of all just feels like something is always going wrong. I feel like this is the first almost clean start that you've gotten. How did it feel for you?
Definitely better. Now I've gotten enough experience, I would say, to actually not make those rookie mistakes in my previous debut. I remember still the first game I played, which was against Schalke, right? Against Abedage. I think we had a really, really good start that game, and then I threw it. I got ahead of myself. I did more than I should have done, and I didn't respect enemy timers, so I died.
When was that?
2019 somewhere.
That was your debut on the Misfits roster, wasn't it? When they had the super team and then they subbed the whole super team out and then Leader
but
came
it was
in.
only mid-jungle that got subbed out for that game.
But you guys did pretty well when you guys came in. You actually picked up some wins for the roster, didn't you?
We did, yeah. We had some wins, but it was still we were not a team really, we were just individuals because there were so many different roster swaps in the middle of scrims. Scrims were not enough time as well, and some scrims get cancelled here and there, and some are not productive. So us just trying to find a connection as humans, as players, as teammates, didn't let us properly find the draft and the meta and our comfort, I would say.
How many times have you actually gotten to join a team and have the time to meet and be friendly with people? Because I think about it, you're getting subbed in randomly on this team. You have your whole stint in NA. You're coming in now this is the reality of our schedule. This is no fault to Astralis. If you want to swap a player between winter and spring, it's always going to be tight. But I feel like you never just get to ease into it. You're always just bam, hot dropping right into it. Having to play mid for
Fragment
a team.
West.
Fragment West, whatever. You're you never just get to join a team at a normal pace. That has to feel super weird.
I've been dropping Fragment West in LEC. Yeah, it's true. In Vitality, I would say it's the closest one to a safer spot to drop at. I had a month, I would say, or some weeks of actually getting together with my teammates and talking, but still joining a team at the end of a year and then working with them towards the start of the split is completely different, I would say, to joining a team in the middle of the year. Because let's say 2021 when I joined Vitality, teams already had time to mesh well together. There's not that many roster swaps. I joined in summer, right? And people already had time to boot camp in winter, wherever it was, go to places together, bond, because I think bonding with your teammates is one of the most important things, because your teammates are the ones that are going to give you confidence and are going to either give you stress or remove your stress. So I've only been hot dropping.
It's really tricky, and I'm just thinking about it more and more. It feels like it's kind of like a little bit of a curse at this point. How was the experience in NA? I know it was similar. I know that there were some difficulties, but I don't know all the details. Was it kind of a similar story?
I think the NA experience was probably the worst one because the split was almost ending already when I joined in NA Academy, because I joined Academy, right? And team was already not in the best of mental states, I would say, because there were so many swaps already that happened before I came in. They played with 3 different mid laners. They even played with their coach, their positional coach of LCS. So some people were kind of out of it. The stuff that was going on was a little bit crazy, even for me, listening to this. It was funny as well on one side. When I think back to it, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, when you're in it, it's not very funny,
It's not funny to be in there, So I went to NA. I played Academy few games, and then I subbed in for LCS. But I got COVID that week that the scrim started. So I was playing remote from my home. And it was already stressful for even the main team, I would say, because they were not doing that great in the standings. They already had the jungle change from Pride Stalker to River. So they were trying to... working with a foreign player can actually be hard, I would say, at the start, because they need to feel comfortable. I think it's harder for foreign players or like Asians, more or less, because language barrier.
Homesick.
And homesick, all that. And if you don't have another Korean player that they can talk with, can be even harder, I would say. Right now, Golden Guardians has Gory, I think. So, and River is performing really, really insane. I think the guy was really, really good at the game.
Yeah.
But I think he just didn't have the people around him to feel comfortable. That year.
I can't even imagine like going somewhere, and imagine like you try to go, like when Yamato went to Korea to coach a team or whatever. Like I can imagine it feels so lonely, because like the good news is, we've talked about this before, is that there's like somewhat a shared language of League of Legends where you don't need maybe as much of the native language of wherever you're working to like communicate ideas. But then like if you want to do anything other than work, that's got to be crushing.
But coaching sounds even harder, because the eyes aren't really on you, and you can just kind of listen and sponge and like soak things in. But as Yamato was like the coach, everyone's kind of looking at him and they don't speak English, and it's like Yamato now has to teach them how to play the game.
I mean, it's getting translated, and imagine your translator could just be griefing you. It's like, all right, that guy said some dumb shit, so I'm going to tell you what I think instead, and tell you that it's what he said. Not that anyone would ever do that, but
it must be so difficult.
I think with the Yamato case, it's like really special as well, because he brings so much soul and passion into what he says, and
how he says what he says is important.
So how is the translator going to give the same thing? Is he going to do it the same way? And he has a deep voice.
He's like, you must believe in yourselves. The translator's like, he says you got to believe in yourself.
Exactly, right. Like how can you take it serious in that kind of way?
So, but he pulled it off. He pulled it off pretty well. I'm just looking at your results here. ERLs, you found a lot of success over the last few years. I mean, you've been bouncing between major leagues and the ERLs. You've been top 4 EU Masters, top 4 EU Masters. You won EU Masters. You were winning Prime League, second minimum placing. Was it frustrating for you to just keep bouncing in and out, like not ever getting this one opportunity? Or were there offers that you declined? Because you're finishing at the top of the ERLs for years and years and years and years, but teams just don't want to give you this trust or belief to just give you a chance.
I mean, it's like, it felt like at one point, because I played ERLs for so many times and I proved myself enough. People think that I'm the top of ERL, but I cannot play in LEC. That's what people think. Even though there was no one even close to me, I would say, in the ERLs in my role, except first split I played. Then Larsen was the closest to me, I would say.
Yeah.
And then after that, it just felt like I wasn't improving as much. And it was more like I was teaching other people as well. Obviously, I learned good stuff as well. I don't regret anything of what's happening. I think everything that happened in the past is for a reason, and I am here because of the past as well. And right now I'm happy. So it's like, it was frustrating for sure, but it doesn't mean just because it means like let's say I got a chance before in those years, but the exact teams that I was going to weren't the greatest. Then my career could be even worse than what it already is. It could always be worse, So I'm just happy with whatever I have. It's just sad that I get to play so later now. And right now I'm actually meshing really well with my teammates, which I did in ERLs as well. After my first split, I was on good terms with them. And when I'm on good terms with them and people believe in me and I can believe in them, I play my best.
Yeah, because when you won EU Masters, that was 4 years ago now.
Exactly.
And maybe you like get afraid as a player, like your peak might be disappearing, or like you're getting older and like you're so frustrated because you think that you're so good at the game, but you're not given that shot. So I think it's just impressive to see that you're here 4 years later after winning EU Masters, and in that first week, he was smashing, clapping kids, still got the mechanics, I think, are the one thing that have stuck really well.
Yeah, and I mean, you getting an Irelia montage game in your first week is obviously like the perfect poster start for you as a player, I think. Right?
Yeah,
like for people
iconic,
that, it's like it's a strong introduction. You know
it's
what I mean?
iconic and ironic because my first game was on a range champion.
Yeah, I know. I think did we cast that game? I can't remember. We were like, ooh, what melee champion
Zed is banned.
You say Zed, every time we enter pick bans, he's like, it's a Zed angle. It could be. He's just like out of nowhere. Literally no one. Caedrel could be a Zed angle. Hey, everybody in the audience, maybe Zed will get picked here.
I've known Leader for like 5 years now, I think, or something. So I've like seen his champion pool in and out through so many different teams and like spoken to so many of his teammates that I think I was preaching him a couple of years ago, and I was like, you need to stop playing range champs. Like, I think teams are scared because you're just way too volatile. Stop practicing Azir, stop practicing Ryze, stop practicing all these range things. And he was like, maybe, we'll see.
I mean, the thing is, I did practice them, but it's like my idea of the game, it's harder to play that way if I play some range champion. You see Ryze, I can play that champion really well, I think, because it's such an active champion in the early game.
Yeah.
And I can actually like... The way I would actually compare myself to is a player that is similar to me is Hylissang, honestly. I think I'm the mid lane version of Hylissang with a little bit more restraint than him, I would say. Yeah. But if people are on the same page with my idea, I can look really good, I think. Mm-hmm. And if people are not on the same page as me, I will look like a griefer.
Yeah, because you're quite a vocal, like skirmish-heavy roam early game snowball player.
Yeah.
And I think when you're playing things like Azir or Victor, you're just a passenger until 20 minutes. Like, you're just there to be... I can push, I can help, just tell me what you need. Whereas if you're playing Ryze, you're like, I'm pushing mid, you're going to cover me, and we're going to dive top.
That's the thing. It's like the game is so champion reliant. Like everything around revolves around champions, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to play my champion optimally. So I want to do the things that the champion wants and not what a mid laner wants in a sense. Because Azir wants front to back, people come into him, I can hit someone frontline for me. My roams are not so good because all I can do is a Shurima shuffle and then I'm in the middle of everyone and then I can't even secure the kill. Because when you roam as a mid laner and you don't get anything out of it and you lose plates and XP, enemy mid will actually be ahead of you in some cases if no one is covering the mid lane. But when you play Azir and control mages, you usually want to stay in your lane. You want to have good CS, you want to have good gold, you don't want to die, you want vision around you, and you want to play the game slow. Because in River, you're useless, most of the case, except Syndra, which is a special case, I would say, of the control mages. Mm-hmm. So it's like, the game plays out with what champions you have.
Do you want to hear a funny story?
Yeah, sure.
So in 2019, 2020 days, when I was telling Leader, like, you need to stop playing Azir in these, because it was a really heavy Azir meta. After the Irelia Aatrox meta from 2019 Worlds, 2018.
We've kind of been living in the
Azir meta. Azir Corki, and I was like, Leader, you need to stop playing Azir Corki. You know what I do? I open up his OPGG. What do I see? I see 10 games of Azir. Electrocute Ignite.
Oh yeah, I was playing that actually.
Electrocute Ignite, and I look at the game, he's all-inning level 3, like dashing on this guy, igniting him, trying to like get his flash, and I was like, Leader, like, you're a mage. Like, you're not an assassin. What are you doing?
It was OP though. It was working out, honestly. It was working out.
Corrupting pod, electrocuting Ignite, just all-inning non-stop.
I mean, it sounds to me like your philosophy for League of Legends has remained more or less the same. But what do you think are like the biggest changes that are from you now versus you in like 2019 or 2021? Like, what do you think? How do you view yourself now compared to then, either as a teammate or in game, and in terms of what you contribute? Or is this just like you're exactly the same? It's just finally you're getting this opportunity that you've been waiting for.
I don't think I have changed much. I think I'm just better with people now than before because 2019. People are different, right? Yeah. Some people can be hard to work with and some can be easy to work with. Now I work with both easy and hard to work with people, and now I know what these people want, and I can easily know which type people are.
Yeah.
So I think I've improved in that sense, and I take the role that the team needs most of the time. If it's a leadership role, I'll take a leadership role. If they just want me to be a passenger...
Leadership.
If they want me to take a passenger role and just play my own game, focus on myself, other people want to talk, I can do that as well at the same time, But obviously I'm going to chime in and say my ideas as well from here and there. But I think I'm smarter, I would say. I'm more smarter about the game and everyone. More smarter about each role. Because when you learn all the different roles and how they function and what should happen and what should not happen, as long as your teammates are actually listening to you without having any ego, because people can think, why is this guy talking about my lane? I played this lane for 5 years, you you've just seen someone play it, But if people listen to the ideas and actually are open to it, I think I can be smart about other lanes as well, because I played a lot of jungle. I played a lot of top lane as well. I played ADC. Support is the only one that I haven't played, but I know what a mid laner wants from a support at the same time. So I think I've just gotten smarter about other roles and smarter about the game, I would say.
Are you good at taking that feedback as well? Because it sounds like you're pretty comfortable giving that feedback. Like when other people want to talk to you about mid lane or how they think you should be playing mid lane, are you also comfortable like listening to what they have to say and taking it in without ego?
Oh, for sure. I think mid lane has been played in different ways now.
Yeah.
In a lot of senses, right? But as long as it's like makes sense, for both mid, because sometimes mid laners needs to drop waves.
Yeah. Some
people would hate to drop waves, I would say. And an example I would say from the LEC that would hate to drop waves would be
Larson.
No, I wouldn't say Larson actually. Really? I think he can drop some waves as well here and there, but I would say it's Vitio. Yeah. I think he wouldn't drop. He would have his own way of playing. He does have his own way of playing, and just sit in lane.
I feel like, would you agree that Chovy has a similar kind of playstyle?
I would agree so, but it's like
not as extreme.
I don't know how to say this. Like,
flame Chovy. Just do it.
I feel like
just light Chovy. Just right here. Just make our clickbaity day. Start the hate thread.
Leader
for
says
early.
he would fist fight Chovy.
No. Okay. One game that I can remember from Chovy that I didn't like from him was his Twisted Fate game. It was one Twisted Fate game where he was just farming without using his ult. One can argue that not using ult is some kind of pressure as well, because people have to play around to having ult. Yeah, exactly. But I think if you don't make any plays or anything proactive with this champion, the champion's value goes down by quite a lot. Because it's not a champion that if you have 300 CS at 25 minutes, you're not going to carry the game with it. I think it's a facilitator, that champion, and he didn't play that correctly. But the player is really insane. I looked at his stats. I always look at his votes, and he's always insane. He deals a lot of damage, even though people say he's an AFK player. He deals a lot of damage, and if people play around him, his way of, like, his style of playing, he would be insane.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chovy's gotten so flexible. I don't know how. Yeah, we pivoted a little bit over to Chovy. But yeah, his style's gotten really insane. I think the only reason I asked that question is because there's like this community sentiment that he just doesn't like to drop waves as much. So I was interested to see if maybe, because I know Vitio is like a huge Chovy fanboy. Like, he loves it. I think that was his name in solo queue.
His Twitter bio is literally, "I will be the next Chovy, I promise."
Yeah, so I was wondering, maybe there's a correlation there. Maybe he just studies his VODs all day, and then when he sees him not drop waves, maybe that's why he just does what Chovy would do in that situation.
I mean, Chovy's a good player. It's respectable. But I do like this. If you hold it up, you get pressure. That's what I'm going to say when I play Blitzcrank. I'm just never going to throw a hook, and I'll be like, guys, I'm creating pressure.
Works.
It
works. It's a fine line. You got to know the timing of, like, keeping it up to the point where they can't hold in you, but then knowing the timing of throwing it.
Yeah, I'm talking about the timing of how long I can not throw a hook before I get flamed.
Just disable
how many
your
can
Q
I
button.
whiff and then stop hooking before people realize I'm just bad and not generating pressure?
Just playing Blitzcrank on controller.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the thing about players. So the game is a team game.
Yeah,
and each player, what they do, if it correlates with what your other teammate wants to do, both of them are going to look good. But if one has one idea, the other one has something else, and they're both doing the opposite thing, both of them are not going to look good.
Do you think the game has become more team orientated? Like in 2019, do you think the game was more? I think if you look at the meta, it was more like, self-skill, individual expression with Aatrox and Jason, Irelia and stuff.
It was a lot more about counter matchups too.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Do you think the game's gotten to the point where you've been forced to learn the team game more because it's been levitating to more of a team-centric game?
I think so. Yeah, I think when you look at sports, if you compare sports with the League of Legends, let's say League of Legends has been around for what now, 13 years?
Yeah.
And sports have been around for many, many, many years.
Yeah, 60, 70, 80.
So just like in sports, individual skill at the start probably mattered a lot. And then people started to do more team stuff because it was more effective.
Yeah.
Because obviously 1 + 1 is 2, right?
Yep.
And then, but if you do something as a team, it can be multiplied instead. You can do 5 × 5, and then it's 25. It's much better than 1 + 1 or 5 + 5,
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with League now. People were much more stupid before in how to play together as a team. Because to start as a team in League is, first you need to not be so greedy and think about tempo. So when you base together, you're playing as a team already because you're doing something together. But let's say one guy is off tempo, then it's like harder to play as a team because one guy is desynced from you. So I think the game evolved. People figure out more strats. Obviously, the game is changing as well with patch because you're supposed to get gold to destroy the Nexus, and the most efficient way of getting gold now is different from before because in 2019 there were no plates. So you didn't make slow plays to choke people out to take plates. Now, back then it was dives. 2019. It was when
wasn't that the meta where like a wave would stack, you dive bot, and then you die, and on the bounce you had to re-dive them or you were screwed, and it was just a non-stop.
Exactly. People didn't get punished for it as well, you know. Now I think the most optimal way of playing now is just choking people out, pushing mid, sitting in fog, let your bot lane hit the tower. Someone needs to come and cover. Obviously, if you see the enemy jungler, you just dive them, and then you base instantly, or like take some plates, base. Slow push back, maybe gank, or like make another slow push and dive again. And take plates, you know? All the time you just take plates. Back then you just dove. You were just diving. And jungle was different. Jungle is always changing. So it's like so many things that are getting changed, you know? And you have to optimize stuff in different patches. But I think in the end, the game has evolved into a much more team-oriented game than it was individual.
And I think that's every player we have on here who, you know, talks about the game. It used to be you'd talk about your role very specifically. Then, like, when we started this podcast, like 2017, mostly people talked about their role. This is what I want to do. This is a mid laner. Now, every single person who comes on when we talk about other roles, they're like, oh, yeah, I also need to understand how every other lane works. And that makes me a better player. And that's something that is significant and important. Whereas back in the day, I feel like you used to be able to just get away with, this is how my lane works. This is what I need.
I'm in my own lane.
Season 3, Season 4, Season 5, you're like, no, you didn't know. You didn't know how their lane works. Shit, they might not have known how their lane works, to be fair. There's kind of the Wild West back then. It was a very different game. But I feel like now there's this, you can't just understand mid lane if you want to be a top-level mid laner. You can't just understand jungle if you want to be a top-level jungler. You really need to have at least a baseline understanding of what everyone else needs to be doing or needs, I think. Otherwise, I just think that communication in-game is so hard. If you know your top laner needs to catch that wave, they have to catch that wave, then you're not going to ask them a stupid question like, hey, can you come bot right now? You know. Or if you know what you're asking. You're like, hey, I understand that I'm griefing you right now, but I need your ass bot.
And then they hopefully would understand because they know your role. And they know how doomed you are if you lose this massive stacked wave just to their own bot. Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder which direction the game will go in. Not to get too into the weeds of it, but like in 13.6, there's like a dragon nerf. You know, I think if objectives slowly start to get nerfed, you go regressing back into that individual style.
But I think that ultimately, you know, based on what you said, Leader, it's just like the variables of how you get gold are going to change. But ultimately, it's still going to be, if it becomes all about mid, let's say, for example, then everyone's just aware of that, and like everyone has to play around that. It's never going to be, again, the way that it was Season 2, Season 3, where it was like, oh, wicked Irelia, you know, like one player on their signature champion completely dominating. Even though you had this great dominant game, it still also comes down to your mid laner, or your jungler rather, living next to you, ready to fight. You know what I mean? Like
champion specific once again.
Champion.
I remember you're the classic support diff kind of player. You know, you're ulting mid, support comes first, just open support gap. So I guess having someone like Younghoon on your team must feel great. Like I feel like Chovy Younghoon has just been probably one of the best bot lanes we've got in the league.
They're insane. They're consistent and they're really insane. I think both of them. But before we touch on them, I would like to add on to the Chovy and the lanes part. Right? I watch his VODs all the time, and most of his VODs is actually not about mid lane. He's either playing Belvet support 5 games in a row or playing Ornn top lane or something.
Solo queue?
Yes, in solo queue. I'm like, I'm here to watch a mid laner, not a top lane or support, you know. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, just because it's a team-oriented game, so individual skill doesn't matter as much. So that's why you can see, I would say, Fnatic and Excel struggling so much, I think, compared to SK, let's say. Because on paper, if you... because Excel members have played LEC and gone international events much longer, much more. So individually, they should be better with all the experience, different players they played against. But SK is just better because I think if you don't mesh well together as 5 players, you're going to struggle no matter how good you are individually. Because I don't know why people are looking down on Humanoid. I'm like reading subreddit, for example, like Fnatic subreddit. I think it's really, really funny. It's like the most extreme subreddit there is. It's like always funny. And then I see that Humanoid should be gone. They need a more consistent mid laner. Like, this is unplayable. But the guy is top mid laner.
Yeah. In the LeBlanc game against Vitality, I think he was doing pretty well. Just everything around him was collapsing.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is that like when a team is performing or winning games, more often than not, everyone on the team looks good. And when a team is losing games, everyone looks bad.
Yeah.
And you can either look bad in the way where you try to make plays so you look like an inner, or you can look bad where you do nothing because you can't really do anything, and then you look like you're doing nothing.
Having that mindset of like, this game is lost, let's just do this and see if we can like maybe win. And then once you do it, you look even stupider because you lose faster. And then
that was me against SK. That was me.
Just int to try and get back in the game.
Yeah.
And then you get more flack for it, kind of. Right?
I think one more thing on philosophy before we talk more about kind of Astralis and how this process has been for you. How do you kind of sell your League of Legends philosophy to your teammates? Because obviously you're a pretty unique player. You have a unique champion pool, mostly centered around a lot of these like high impact assassins or skirmish heavy champions, roam heavy champions. You talked about it already, but like, how do you get a new team on board with you? Because you talked about like it's really important that you mesh, but not only are you worrying about trying to mesh with new teammates, you're also, I think more often than not, probably trying to sell them on the way that you want to play mid lane, which isn't as simple as, hey, this is a good meta champion, let's play the good, this is what the LCK is playing, let's play this. It's like more than that. So how do you actually like get people on board with the way that you like to play?
I mean, I think they are probably already on board when they're trying to find a new mid lane, or they kind of have to be on board because there's no better choice, I guess. And obviously, I can see, if I was from management perspective, I can see the risk in me.
Yeah.
But so I think they were on board already with me. They knew what they were getting.
Yeah.
And obviously, I have to perform as well, make them trust in me with my gameplay. I think I did a good job of that in scrims and whatnot, and explaining my thought process, because I'm just not gonna play the game brainlessly without knowing myself what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I tell my process. People can agree, people cannot agree, but I think it works.
Yeah.
So, and it works because it's good. So there's not really much to sell. As long as it works, you win games, you get a lead, and you're playing the game good. It's gonna work. It's not that hard, I would say. Let's say I was inting.
Yeah.
All the time, then it would be another thing, because obviously there are some suboptimal champions. I would say I picked one in the last game. Silas was more of a suboptimal champion, even though the situation was really, really good. But I think the other champions that I play, they're good, but people just haven't really caught up on it that much or that fast yet. Just like Gragas has been broken for so long, and people are playing Gragas mid lane now. People take some time to pick up champions. Kled as well. G2 started playing it, and now suddenly, wow, maybe the champion is actually not that bad.
Yeah.
It just needs to...
Malphite.
Shit champion. That champion doesn't do anything, I think. Literally, it doesn't do anything. It's legit just a troll pick at this point.
Is this the point where it's like, people tell you Gragas mid 4 weeks ago, and you're like, nah, it's terrible, And Caps has now played 2 Malphite games, and in maybe a couple of weeks, you're like, wait, Malphite's broken. Maybe you're in that mindset, leader.
Damn, you're that's messed up. You're scared of Uno reverse.
I don't know what to say. I think Malphite mid is troll. That's
Malphite mid is troll.
But I think mid lane doesn't matter that much.
But what if it's into Jace?
Can be good.
Can be good. Also, your team comp was full AD when you picked Malphite.
Yeah, it was full AD.
So it maybe has scenarios. We'll see.
But was it really full AD though?
Well, I guess Irelia is slightly hybrid. I don't remember the full draft.
We had Leona Sejuani, so they had to choose Mercs.
Was it just double AD? I think you had like Renekton,
Irelia, Sejuani with Zaya and Leona. That was her comp. Yeah. And enemy's only tank was Malphite. And let's say all of them go tank. Let's say the Jarvan goes tank as well. Then they only have 2 damage dealers now.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 Heimer.
Haha, it's like the 1-up comp. It's like, yes, we're full AD, but if you build armor, then you have no damage.
Yeah.
It's like...
And they have to choose between Mercs and Tabis this game.
I mean, the second you pop off on Irelia, just your enemy team's life just becomes hell. They're like, well, we can build 0 damage, and then Irelia's just going to lifesteal through everything and dunk on us, or we can build damage, and then if we mess up once, she's going to one-shot us.
I heard the...
Yeah, I held back.
Nice restraint. I love to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting because I just think that one of the things that is always going to make you exciting is you can call it Chovy, maybe you can reference Doinb, but like you are bringing something unique to mid lane for better or for worse, you know, and we'll see in like only in hindsight will we know 100% whether or not you're right. But like there's a world where in 3 months we're like, oh damn, this dude was a prophet. Like this is how people should be playing mid lane, or like he was the guy that actually figured out a lot of these picks, that like pushed a lot of these picks in the meta. Or we'll look back and we'll be like, damn, you're a griefer. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, if you're the victor, you're just, or not the champion, the winner, right?
History's written by the winner, right?
Yeah, exactly. So whatever you do, if you win, you're going to be the one that has the game figured out, you know, because you're winning. But right now, mid lane is not that kind of role, I would say. I think right now it's all about bot lane and how your jungler plays. So if your bot jungle is working well together and mid and top does the roles, you're going to win games. It doesn't matter what you pick in mid lane, I think.
Is it concerning to you that like you look around the world, there's not many people playing like Irelia mid, or there's not many people playing things like Yasuo or, you know, Echo or whatever you want to play? I think in like, for example, LCK, I guess there's like one player is Closer who plays it. Maybe you've seen his Irelia games, but barring that, no one really touches it, blinds it, counters it. Does that concern you at all? You're just like, no, I know it's good.
The thing with Irelia is it's hard to play. You need confidence, and you need your team on board with it. You know, their champion needs everyone, because there are objectives in the game, and for Irelia, the objective is every single wave. Every single wave is an objective because you
have to queue onto it.
You have to queue onto it.
Yeah.
But you are really OP in the wave as well. So why not play towards that Irelia? You know, but I don't know what the reason LCK players are not playing it. I think everyone wants to make the game as simple as possible for themselves, so there's less room for error. But I think in that sense, there's like the chance of winning can be lower as well in that way.
Yeah, I mean, some people play top right into like Gnar and Jace and things, but yeah, mid is just almost non-existent.
I mean, it feels volatile. Cool, you know what I mean? And that's, I think, one of the things that again makes it so exciting. But also, I can see why teams, one, the immense skill that it takes to play the champion. It's obviously a very unique champion compared to Victor, right? Azir, like you actually have to learn. There's like more skill with Azir. Azir's a tricky champion. I know that like has a pretty decent mastery curve, but like Victor,
Victor is just like about spacing. Really, that's kind of it's just like making sure you're
like you still need to know what you're doing, but like anyone can pick up Victor and you know with 3 items and do something in a team fight. Will they play perfectly? No, but
just press E.
On Victor, you're never going to be the main reason you win the games. I think
you can't be.
You cannot be the main reason.
The enemy team can be if they like 5 man into your stun.
Exactly, right. If they play into your condition, sure, but you cannot create a condition for yourself on this champion. That's the thing. Azir you can.
Yeah,
that's
Azir
why I like
does
Azir.
Shuffle.
Yeah, I like Azir.
With Ignite?
Electrocute. I played it in Champions Queue a few days ago.
With Ignite Electrocute?
Yeah.
You haven't changed.
But what can I do? Enemy locked in Ezreal mid lane.
So you have to kill him?
Sounds like Champions Queue's going well, by the way. This is Ezreal mid lane.
I lock in Azir, enemy mid locks in Ezreal, so how can I take it serious as well? That's a little bit hypocritical because I lock in champions that gives mid laners the worst practice.
Give me an example.
Zed.
Yeah.
I just blind pick Zed in Champions Queue. And then enemy mid, are you going to blind pick Zed in LEC as well? They write to me. And Niski locked in Fizz. And he was actually not good on it. Surprisingly.
But what happens when you play Mad Lions and blind pick Zed and Niski's sitting there like, oh wait, he actually did it.
No, I will, I think. I think when people write this stuff, it actually means they're scared of this stuff as well. At the same time, they're worried.
So their coping mechanism is counter-trolling?
Yes.
Like picking Azir with the Electrocute Ignite?
It is absolutely the classic cope. You wouldn't pick this in a real game.
I told you, it exists in pro play.
I've heard this from every pro player. It's like, what do you do when G2 picks troll champs? You know, they wouldn't pick this on stage, blah,
exactly.
blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, bro, you're 0-4. I think that might be a cope angle, not an analysis angle.
The cope angle goes to in-game as well, because like when they're playing super far up in the lane and they're like threatening to all-in you non-stop, they're like, yeah, you wouldn't play like this on stage.
Yes. People that get stomped say this usually. If they're getting beaten up, they say, you're not going to do this. Like, what is wrong with this guy? What is he doing? Is he going to play like this on stage as well? Are you going to play like this?
Yeah, I can imagine whoever scrimmed BDS with the Sion and they dove bot level 1 with the Sion taking your camps, they're probably like, yeah, they'd never do that on stage.
They'd never do it on stage.
Good job getting Scrim LP or something. That's what they would say.
Good job getting Scrim LP.
Yeah.
You're climbing the ladder. And then you go on stage and wow, what a game.
Yeah.
Scrim LP. Love to see it. I want to talk about the BDS game in a moment, but yeah, let's talk more about the team. Your bot lane, obviously super cracked. Finn has been stepping up. We heard a lot last season about how he's this like great leadership personality, and now you and 113 learning to work together as a duo. My favorite stat from the weekend that you helped us find before the podcast started is that he spent He had 60% jungle proximity, 67% jungle proximity in your Koi game, 61% in your G2 game.
60% jungle proximity.
Which is, for the record, unheard of. Junglers are usually in the 40s. It's just time you spend near any ally. But seems like you said bot is important, you know? It seems like you guys are the primary duo lane. You guys are like living together.
Bot is the treasure chest, but leader is the key.
What?
And you just unlock him and he'll roam bot.
And I'm the treasure hunter as well.
And his name is treasure hunter in solo queue. So you're like a pirate.
But think about it this way. Let's say we're playing towards mid.
Yeah.
And my bot lane has a bad matchup. I have a good matchup. I can either help them relieve pressure by going to that lane, or I can force enemy support to come to my lane.
Oh.
That's one way of relieving pressure. We're playing towards my condition. Because my condition is better.
So they can use their pushing lane to come mid to stop you.
Exactly.
Or they can use their pushing lane to punish bot, but then you can roam down.
Exactly.
I like it. So how are you liking? So the team environment, how's everything going? Once again, you were kind of getting hot dropped in.
Yeah.
How much time have you had to practice with the team?
Fragment West.
Did you get a PK on drop? Or are we just sitting here with 30-30s on the drop?
30-30.
Oh my.
At the start.
But how are you doing now? You good?
Much better now. I think people didn't have the time to remove their stress from the previous split. Tension here and there. You know how it is on losing teams, especially with this format. You have 9 games, you lose 4 or 5, almost over instantly. They started off 0-5, already giga stressed. People are worrying about their careers, whatnot, which is fair as well, you know, because I think Finn as well is on thin ice, you know, because he's getting a lot of criticism here and there. So he's obviously I can see the stress I could see the stress that he had before as well. But now we talked it through. I was there for 1 week before LEC because Chovy was at home. I was at home as well, and the other 3 were at the gaming house. We scrimmed the Irelia at the start when we joined in because no LEC team was scrimming really. We won those obviously, and then when LEC scrim started, we were getting fisted by everyone. It was crazy. I think the only way we won 1 game where we backdoored kind of, you know, where with Herald, they did 1 misplay and we were stop their bases. I TP on the Herald and we tried to end, you know, and then we're dying. The stat line in that game 9-31. That was the stat line. So you know it was a complete fistache in mid lane. Everywhere. We won that game. Obviously, scrims were still going shit. But we got into the house. We talked it out. The sports psychologist helped us out, you know, as well. We talked through it together. We fixed our problems, our differences that we had from the last split. And now it's kind of a new beginning. It's a new beginning. But the thing is, we need some more time. The way Astralis was playing last split was through bot lane because that's where the condition was. Boom or 113 was going through bot side all the time. So me and him were actually the worst mid jungle, I would say, in whole LEC in the scrim week that we were scrimming. But I think now we're probably the best mid jungle together, playing together in what we want. But obviously there's more stuff we can fix. So if just give us more time, and I think we'll be more consistent.
Do you feel? I mean, the thing is you don't, as you highlighted, you don't have a ton of time, but it sounds like you saw pretty immense improvement in that first week. Are you confident you can keep up that rate of improvement? Because usually, in my experience, some of the basic stuff is really easy to figure out, but as you want to go into more and more complex ideas, or the deeper you go into improvement, it's really easy to get from F to C. Really hard to get from C to A or whatever, however you want to rank it.
That depends on the individual, I would say. If you're getting along well, it's really, really easy to rank up, like you said, really, really fast, as long as people are as one unit.
Nice.
And they agree on each other. And right now we are. We are one unit. We're listening to each other. We are on the same kind of ideas of how we want to play the game. And nobody's complaining. There's no tension whatsoever, you know? And this is a really, really good team environment.
Nice.
Obviously, winning helps as well. Against
I mean, if you guys had an 0-3 week, this might have been a very different podcast.
Maybe. I don't know.
True.
Because the environment was good no matter what. That's what I feel like. Even if we lost, I feel like it wouldn't have made that big of a difference. Because we were doing a lot of stuff outside of game with the time we had. So we bonded well.
What do you guys bond over?
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you doing
what's the secret? What's the Astralis secret to camaraderie and brotherhood?
Walking to dinners and eating dinners. It's so simple, but it's so OP. Just the time that you just walk together, talk, and then sit down and eat on the same table together and talk to each other. I think that actually makes a big difference in how teams work.
Nice.
Just doing something.
Are you guys all in the same gaming house? You like all living together?
We're sitting next to each other and living in the same house.
Yeah, no,
it helps.
I think the amount of times we've heard like environment is just everything.
Environment is the story of this year. It's weird how consistently we're seeing this, but I mean, we have 2 reminders right now in terms of Fnatic and Excel that like if people aren't getting along, no matter how good you are on paper, it can just look like a mess.
Yeah.
And SK, the initial poster child of if the environment is good and the pieces are, solid or have potential, you can really make something great.
Yeah.
Individual skill goes up as well.
Yep.
If you have a good environment.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I wonder if that's a Western thing. Because I look at like the Eastern teams, and it's oftentimes you don't see teams like that just flop where you have big names on it. I guess the example could be like Nongshim last year where they had like Kana and BDD and Ghost who just came off the back of winning Worlds and stuff and they struggled. But it seems consistent that the teams who have the big names are still winning. Whereas if you look at Fnatic, you have Wunder, you have Reckless, you have Humanoid, off the back of these insane Worlds performances. If the environment's bad or you just don't mesh well together, it just falls apart.
I think the structure in coaching in Eastern teams is different as well from Western. Yeah. I think we have more of a chill approach to stuff here. We let players do whatever they want to individually. So it's more on the players to get along and mesh well and all of that more than it is looking at videos and stuff. The Eastern coaches has a lot to say. The Eastern coaches can go crazy if they want to on the player.
They will scold the out of you.
Yes, exactly. They can flame you. They can do whatever. If a coach flames you now in EU or even in NA, if someone like brings up their tone a little bit, they're gonna get benched. Either it's the coach or the players. It's true. So everyone is scared in a way as well, to take some
leadership.
Authority. So that's that.
Yeah.
Leadership.
Interesting. Yeah, Western. I don't know. I haven't seen all Western coaches. I can't speak on behalf of all of them, but I feel like the players maybe in the West are a little bit more sensitive, or I don't want to say
about sensitivity. I think that I think that one, I just want to acknowledge before we go any further that none of us are an expert on Korean or Chinese culture or internal scrims. We get what we get from talking to players, from talking to coaches. So there probably will be some assumptions made here, and just don't want to say that these are just our reads. Definitely not any sweeping conclusions. But I think that we've heard a lot over the years about cultural differences, a lot more in terms of I know age hierarchy is obviously very important, and positional hierarchy is very important in Korea, and it feels like a much more cultural thing than it is here. Whereas at least from American culture perspective, which I can speak on because obviously that's where I grew up, it's like everyone's their own special flower, and you don't have to just follow authority for authority's sake. And while that has a lot of positive things, it doesn't exactly set you up to be in a hierarchical environment in the same way that maybe a Korean esports team is organized.
It just makes more individuality, I think, in team if you think like that. You're not meshed, you're not connecting.
You're less of a unit in a way, because I think in the Eastern culture, from what I've seen from the behind the scenes, it's the 5 players respect the coach so much, and no matter what the coach direction chooses, they all follow that direction.
Yeah, and even if they
blindly
don't like the guy, that's just the structure. I mean, that's the structure that they have signed on for. And so whether that's a cultural thing or whether that's they have a team agreement, it seems that those teams are good at following that.
But I think respect can be built upon flaming, if the coach comes to you and says and he's correct, and he says
it needs to be correct, that's the thing.
Yeah, and he's correct, and he says you inted here so badly, don't ever do this again, You in the moment you feel bad, but afterwards you feel quite thankful that someone's actually right behind you, just looking at your every move in a way.
I mean, I'm not. I think different people take feedback in different ways. I don't think the answer is, hey, coaches, flame your players, but be right. You know what I mean? Some players need hard feedback for it to get through to them, in the sense that I think some players need to be told, get your head out of your ass, and some players need it to be softer and gently fed to them. And I don't think there's a one size fits all approach.
It's about reading the person, I suppose.
Once again, it all comes from how you grew up as well, because we said, Eastern culture different than Western, age hierarchy, all of that stuff. So when someone says something to you, you will take it more seriously as well,
Yeah.
I asked Jong actually, how would the coach react in this situation? Not happy, he said.
Yeah.
Not happy.
I was doing an interview with Bo, and I was talking to him about coaching structure in the LPL. And I was so talk to me about how is scrims going, how's the coach and stuff like this. And he said scrims are going good, but sometimes the games have over 20 kills. And I was is that bad? And he's if I was on FPX and the games had over 20 kills, coach would get really mad at me and like get really pissed, and I would get a lot of backlash. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. But here, I think it's just how scrims work. And I was like, cool.
Fair. I wonder if that's just because if there's more than 20 kills, the scrim is like super volatile and like not good practice.
Yeah, he actually translated the word for word. He translated. I was like, what would the coach do? And he just wrote scolding. I was like, yeah, he just wrote it in the old chat just to try and like figure out. He was trying to say the word, so he just wrote it instead. And I was like,
no shame.
Scolding. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, wow, okay, fair enough.
But I think that's from team to team as well, because we scrimmed LNG, like the McDonald's team in 20.
Oh yeah, it wasn't it EDG you scrimmed?
We scrimmed EDG.
Oh wait, I forgot about the McDonald's
he was part
team.
of the McDonald's
I forgot
team.
you and Mickey X, band of brothers, dude.
So let's for context. It was you, Wunder,
yes,
Mickey X.
Those were the three all the time, and then the ADCs were between Chovy and Sven.
Yep.
Those were the two ADCs, and jungle was Maxlor some games, Skeen some games, Pride Stalker some games.
So this was a team who, during the 2021 World Championship in Iceland, you were scrimming some of the Eastern teams because they couldn't get scrims from Western teams.
Exactly, and I was talking to Nelson at that time, and I asked Nelson, like, can you, like, if someone needs scrims, like, we're down.
We want to practice.
Yeah, we're down, like, for fun. And we scrimmed LNG.
With Doinby and Ale, or was this the Icon roster?
The Icon roster.
Tarzan Icon, yeah.
Those were some bloody games. I've never seen this many remakes as well in one game, like in one scrim block, and this many bloody games. It was so bloody. Like, so when I hear this, like scolding and like many kills games, like it feels like it's like a philosophy from team to team in LPL as well. How they play.
How did those scrims go?
Or you're getting, or they got a lot of scoldings in that day of scrim blocks.
maybe. One day before World Championship, and then you go the bloodiest. Games ever.
Maybe that's why they got knocked out in groups. Did they get knocked out? They did get knocked out in groups. It was Mad Lions group, wasn't it, with Team Liquid and I think it was
I know is that
Genji.
I heard, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I heard the McDonald's team had some pretty good scrim records against international teams.
We had, honestly, for the team that we brought together just randomly, I think it's pretty good scrim record. Even though it's in the negatives, it's still good because we took some 2 to 3 games from each team, and maybe we played like 7 games with remakes included.
Yeah. Didn't you beat EDG as well in some of those games just before the finals?
Yeah, we beat two times EDG. We made them FF once at minute 6 or like 4 or something fast, and then we won 1 game as well in a good game, and then we lost 4, I think, against them.
Yeah, I remember you sent me the VOD of the game and I watched it.
Yeah.
It was the Yasuo game.
Exactly. I mean, it was fun, and the team was good. Look, 5 good players.
Yeah.
We were having fun. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
But the thing with LNG was Ale was a psychopath.
Okay.
It was a complete psychopath. That guy was 0-10, but he would split push like he was 20-0. And he felt like he was 20-0 as well at the same time. It was crazy.
So he never got a reality check?
No. He was running it and 1v9ing at the same time.
So it worked. He's 0-10, running it down the side lanes, pulling 2 or 3 of you.
I forgot. That was the Ale roster too. It was like Ale or bust.
Ale was a big carry on that roster.
He was, yeah. He was good. He was inting, but he was good at the same time, so... Obviously, he's a good player.
Yeah. Did you learn something from those scrims? Was it like, as much as they were bloody, you're playing against some of the best players in the world? Was the lane phase, did you enjoy it?
I mean,
no.
Lane phase wasn't that
50
hard.
50 kills.
Lane phase wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
I think...
Scout got World's MVP, right?
Yeah. I mean, I struggled more against Icon than Scout. Okay. I don't know why. Maybe because Icon is a psychopath in scrims as well.
Yeah.
But... or maybe because the roster was different as well, and my matchups were not it as well. I would say they were the ones that I was playing, but it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But Icon, I struggled more against him.
Yeah.
Than Scout for sure.
Well, LNG have Doinby now. No, Doinby stopped actually. LNG have a completely different. LNG have Scout. Ironically.
Oh, really?
Come full circle.
Interesting.
It comes for a circle.
Yeah.
Bringing it back for a quick second, I'm glad that speculation about how Eastern team environments or specifically Korean and Chinese team environments work aside, bring it back.
I've gone on one of my rants again, haven't I?
Bro, you're fine. I think it's good content. We'll find out later when people go, why does Caedrel keep talking about random stuff? Or we'll find out when people go, why does Drakos keep interrupting Caedrel talking about random stuff? Bring it back to week 1. Obviously a sick week. Obviously all those dinners and walking together paid off.
Lovely.
You beat Koi, you beat G2, who coming into the season you would have said were both clearly top 3, top 4 teams, because that's where they finished, right?
Yeah.
G2, I think, still looking potentially like number 1, although you beat them pretty handily. Then you lost to SK. That game was rough. I thought for sure it was the 3-0. So what actually happened in the SK game? Because like the G2 game, it's a montage. Your first game was also kind of a montage. It was looking good.
Yeah.
So what happened in game 3?
I think that's a result of not enough scrims, not enough time together, honestly, and not figuring out the correct champions, I would say, and just misplaying, not being able to put our ideas into practice for long enough. Because let's say it was if we joined together and scrimmed for 1 month, I think we would have played it better and probably won. But then again, I don't know. Maybe we would have lost against G2 then. Who knows,
Yeah.
Whatever happened. I'm like happy we lost that SK game. I think it gave us a lot of good points compared to the ones that we won. So I'm happy with this loss. I appreciate that loss.
Thanks for stomping us.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't stomp us. We stomped ourselves. They didn't do anything that game.
Yeah, Markoon was like, he got so many kills on Lee Sin.
Yeah, I think we spoon-fed him a little bit. Because the game was actually really, really over in the early game when he lost his flash.
Mm-hmm.
If we just stop there, I take my base, I come back, and then we play, the game just auto-ends, I think, slowly. Because we're playing a Silas, mid-jungle heavy champion, and when Lee Sin is running around the map with a gore drinker to my Vice...
Kindle gems,
something. 2 Kindle gems, or whatever it was, and some long swords. We have a fat issue, I think.
Is that what you said in the comms as well, guys? Lee Sin's 5-0, we got a fat issue.
I don't know what I said. I said, don't commit anymore. Go somewhere else, don't commit. I said.
He's like, I can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, that was an issue. So we slowly lost that game. But it happens.
Yeah, I mean, SK's 3-0. They're like one of our top teams now, next to Vitality. And I think Perk said on PGL, he was like, their mid jungle is pretty damn good.
Here's my question then. I'll just we're going to skip around a little bit. Who are actually the top 4 teams in LEC right now, in your perspective?
Excluding yourself.
I'm not allowed to put myself in top 4?
No, you can put yourself
in top 4.
Okay. You're just going to have to defend it.
I mean, obviously Astralis, G2. And then it becomes hard, I would say.
That's where it becomes hard? Astralis, G2, and then it becomes hard?
Oh, actually, Vitality.
Okay, there you go.
Now it becomes hard.
Okay.
So you've got teams
That's a little bit more plausible.
So you've got like teams like SK on the rise, Mad and Koi, Excel's revamped their roster.
If we can get the standings up when you get
SK is going to get outscaled.
SK is going to get outscaled.
Yeah, they're going to get outscaled, I think.
Yeah, but they were so close to making it.
Yeah, but they're still going to get
outscaled. In the best of 5, it was 5-game series, wasn't it? So
yeah,
in Winter. But they're still going to get outscaled, you reckon?
Yeah, they're not a proactive team. I think non-proactive teams are for sure going to get outscaled sooner or later.
Okay.
That's what I think.
And then you've got BDS, Koi.
I think Koi will scale better.
I mean, they did in Winter.
I think they're going to scale better. Like they have... Or will they?
Will they?
See, this is the hardest part
Let me quote something about Koi. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
Koi Larson on Reddit, right? Interview by esports.gg. We are playing very poorly. We have a lot to worry about. We need to improve a lot of things because we are very bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
So he obviously thinks they've got a lot of problems.
Well, because the thing is normally coming into the season, I was pretty ready to be like, okay, G2 clear number 1. Everyone can say that. Pretty easy. Pretty fat gap between them and Mad in the finals. But then it's like Mad, Koi, and then when Vitality show up, But then we watch this week play out, and it is just best of 1s, but Koi and Mad do not look like teams that will be clean enough to make it best of 5. And again, just best of 1s. But it's like, I think it's really hard to figure out who's top 4. G2 number 1, Vitality looking also very good. Astralis, I'm skeptical. You're going to have to make me believe it as we go forward. Even though you had a great week and you did beat G2 pretty decisively. I'll need to see more. I'll need to see some Silas games where it does, come together. Where you do stop.
Where the Sejuanials do hit.
Yeah, no, you do stop after you get the Lee Sin.
Those one on mid when you get into with the value.
I'm happy it missed because I think Lee Sin was around.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but I saw it go a little bit wide.
I think Pyke used his hook there as well. No, was it when Pyke came in?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I just saw it go wide.
Yeah, I remember after the game we said, I'm happy we missed our skill shots there because we would have got triple kill. We're going to get triple kill there if something hits there.
Lee Sin would have more than just a gore drinker then.
Yes. So, yeah.
So, because to me, I think right now, I think SK, it's long run top 4. I'm also kind of waiting to see how far they will go. It's interesting to hear you refer to them as like a not super proactive team, but I can definitely see why. So for me right now, it's Vitality, G2 are the teams that I kind of like believe in, and everything after that is a mess. Now, I think Astralis and SK are both kind of front runners to fight into that top 4, but League's in a weird spot, man.
It is, and I saw this post. I don't want to go too off topic again, but it was like if Mad Lions finish 9th, there's a chance that they're our second team at MSI. because of the way championship points works.
So they get 10 points for being 9th, 5 points for being 10th,
Yeah.
and they obviously get a
They finish
ton of
second.
points for getting second in the previous
So if a
split.
team like Vitality gets to the best of 5 or something, and they go to a 5-game series or something, there's still a chance Mad Lions.
If we basically like invert the standings from the previous split, but G2 still win,
the other teams have to get quite high up.
then they could.
If Mad
pull
like
ahead.
make top 6 still,
That's like an insane circumstance.
yeah, but still possible.
Kind of a meme, but funny. I
Yeah,
like it.
It's kind of funny.
Can Astralis go to MSI?
You have to win the
You
split.
have to win the split.
Second place is not enough.
You actually second place. I mean, it depends. You guys did get a good amount of
We have
points.
60 points, or I think.
You can.
Oh yeah,
you can.
If you get second, I think you'll make it.
Okay.
Just depends on where Mad finishes.
Yeah,
Mad and Koi are your biggest contenders because they finished second and third. But it's all points game at that point, so just get the most points and you go.
Okay.
MSI in London.
I would prefer going to an international event.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It would be nice though.
Yeah, I have a good track record against international players in scrims.
Yep.
So you've got Team McDonald's. Was there any other time you play against international teams?
Was there? I don't remember.
I just love it's called Team McDonald's.
It's such an epic
Sponsorship opportunity.
name.
just
Is it going to be
saying.
Burger King next time?
Could be Burger King.
People are stealing that though. Like they were trying to take my crown. I was the inventor of Team McDonald's, obviously, but people are saying like taking my captain role for some reason, even though I was still on Team McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like,
You're on Team Astralis now, dude. You gotta let
now
it go.
I mean,
you gotta let it go.
I gave it to Promiscu on Twitter. I gave him my hat. That's the
go.
crown. Yeah.
You just
The
gave
crown.
him the crown.
Yeah. After he made an insane play.
If anyone from McDonald's is watching and wants to send us some worker uniform McDonald's hats, we will put them to good use.
Yeah. We know exactly how to just sign
we
a
could make some
small
great
5
content.
players that are knocked out of Worlds, make some content, get them in the World Championship, have them up for
just thinking
scrims.
every stage we could invite players on who'd been eliminated and make them wear the McDonald's hat for the entire podcast episode.
It's like, it's not really, it feels like it's a dunce hat, but it's not really because you're...
It's actually so
it's
mean
actually-
because like people who work at McDonald's did nothing to receive your flame.
It's
You know
just
what I
become
mean?
a meme.
It's just become a meme. Anyway, speaking of memes, right now,
Oh, here we go.
Yankos, Elo held.
Oh, yeah.
These are my statements. You can let me know if you agree or disagree. Based on week 1, Yankos is ELO held. That's my statement. Do you agree or disagree?
I haven't watched a single Heretics game.
Spoiler,
But
he's Elo held.
Thank you for
I think he is Elo held though. I think
Yeah.
their bot lane is underperforming really, really heavily.
Yep.
And I think the others are not participating in a game actively as well. So it's only Jankos that is... I think Jankos has always been a reactive jungler.
Yep.
But it's hard to react to what's going on in the other lanes, I would say. It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Jack Spector's been struggling. He struggled through most of winter, and the struggle has continued through bot lane changes, etc. And now I think Evie has really strong moments, but they're almost always counterbalanced by moments where he's Tryndamere eing in for no reason or flashing the wrong way. And that's just like when multiple lanes are struggling, I just feel like your job's impossible as a jungler. Like
sure,
one lane can struggle, but if 2 lanes struggle, you just can't play the game.
Yeah, did you see the BDS Heretics game with Adam Sion where he...
It was right after my game, after my loss. I had like 1v1 content, I think. So I didn't see much, but I saw in the replay he was level 2 to level 7.
Yep.
Level 12 to level 17.
Yeah.
As well.
But somehow he won.
Yeah, he won. It was just bot lane.
It was just bot lane?
Yeah, just bot lane carrying really. And Shio just playing bot side.
I mean, BDS bot lane is playing good. Yeah. They're carrying every game, I think, in that.
Crowny LeBron popping.
Yeah, they are.
Crowny
My
and
ex-teammates.
LeBron
They're taking some responsibility.
Which team are you on with them?
Vitality.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no. 11-0-5 on Zeri, 7-1 on Zaya. Crowny's been, carrying the finish line.
Also, favorite game I've gotten to cast of League of Legends in a very long time.
Not ours.
Your games were fun.
There was a Sion. Did you see the early game?
There was a sign that went bot to die, teleported, and got his TP cancelled.
Followed the Vi for
Leashed all
3
camps.
jungle camps.
Oh, he leashed.
He leashed all 3 camps.
Then they went for bot dive.
They went for bot dive.
Heavy TP.
Baited the Gragas TP out.
Okay.
Right? And then he wanted to TP back top lane to catch the wave, essentially meaning this whole play cost him like 2 creeps. Thresh cancels the TP, so it's instantly turbo doomed.
Yeah.
Absolutely as doomed as humanly possible. They run him down.
He's like 10% HP in a bush dead.
Yeah. But then Thresh like completely whiffs everything on Zombie Scion and dies to Scion passive as Shio is going mid.
At level 2 with flash up.
I read
as
about
Shio
it,
goes mid, Q's in, gets the hit onto his ear, and they kill his ear mid lane.
Yeah.
So it should have just been completely doomed because Gragas is just like so far ahead at this point.
Yeah.
But they get 2 kills.
Because the information they have is Vi is just showing bot, right? Sion's there. They cancel the TP. Then Vi ganks mid from bot side and he dies to it. Despite seeing him on bot side, for example, right? Yeah. And then the Sion, despite being free kill, all you have to do is flay the passive.
Yeah.
It missed.
He whiffs the flay, and then he tries to walk
some nerves
down around the tower, but because he walks down instead of just continuing to walk away, Sion is just in range long enough to finish the last auto animation.
It was a wild game.
I need to watch that game. It sounds really funny, that game.
So
it was wild.
Only the first, after that is kind of just a mess, but...
And the problem is Jankos lost his bot camps, so now he has to split the map, kind of. And then Vi kept taking his second respawn.
Split the map against Sion Gragas matchup, which is not the win condition.
No.
Actually, really, really good play from
they should have lane swapped.
I mean, it was almost flawless. Like, you can see that prep level 1 was really smart, right up until the TP gets canceled.
BDS should have lane swapped their bot on second red buff.
What was BDS comp, if you remember? It was Sion.
BDS comp was Sion,
Victor,
Vi,
Victor,
Xayah, Rakan. And they were up against Aphelios Thresh bot lane with Wukong, Azir, and Gragas.
I think many teams should drop Aphelios Thresh. They shouldn't be playing Aphelios Thresh, I think. I think you need to be really, really good at bot lane and really be really good as a team to play Aphelios Thresh.
Yeah, Xayah Rakan just looks so broken.
It is really OP. It's winning, losing lanes. Like, I think Chovy trolled once as well in our game against G2 where he got grenaded on his head by Mickey and into a trap combo when he shouldn't die there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But still he was broken.
Yeah.
That champion is just busted right now.
I think right now that the thing about like really good Aphelios Thresh things we talked about, like you can see some of them in LPL. It's like you have to be really good at your setups. You have to be really good at your gun timings. You have to be good at both the champions, the duo, and your team has to be ready to play it around them. Otherwise, it's like, why not play Xayah Rakan? You get an AD who can get lane prio, an AD who has built-in safety, and an engaged champion in a region where, like, surprise, like everyone has been playing engaged champions since the dawn of time in this region, and they've always been good.
It's classic EU top when it's like carry top laners of Jace, and then the one team just is like, what if we just go Ornn? And then they pick Ornn, and they just teamfight Drake, and they win the game, and it's like, EU, baby.
I can tell you why people don't want to play Xayah Rakan that much, and that's because it loses lane against Aphelios, it loses lane against that, it loses
but I'm just going to say, Thresh is a shit champion.
It got buffed.
I know he got buffed. I know he's a little bit better, but like, if you're not ahead, what does this champion do?
I like that Drakos because I've always hated having a Thresh in my team ever.
Because I loved Thresh. In Season 3, I loved Thresh. I loved Thresh was great, but the problem is, in the world of Rakan and Rel and these engaged champions, or like, you know, Lulu, whatever, it's like, this champion is, to me, the snowball support.
It's funny. I saw like an Elsecar in LPL game because his Q cooldown got like buffed. It's reduced. Like he hits a hook on the Sion or Gragas who's face checking, like pull. Then 1 second later, he hits a hook again, pull. No one can engage. He's just constantly hooking this Gragas as they're trying to get into river, and then they just get engaged on and die. It was kind of funny.
When you get set up first and you can hook from Fog of War, great. When you ever have to try to engage with a Thresh,
that's the thing. Thresh is a one mistake doomed champion. I think behind in tempo, game is many times harder, and I never liked Thresh. But the thing is, Thresh was always terrorizing like drafts. Always. We have to ban this champion 1, 2, 3. But what if they pick Thresh here? What if they pick Thresh here? There's so many broken combos they can go. Jinx, Aphelios, all of that.
It does enable, like, that's the strongest part about it, right? Is that, like, there's the hyper carries in the game when they're good are so strong that just giving them an extra summoner spell in the form of a lantern, basically, is, like, worth this champion.
What if enemy jungler decides to gank you? You just die on a bad timer, now your game is over. So you have to be really, really good on the champion and about bot lane in general, I think.
Yeah,
I'm with
have
you.
to play Lantern and stuff like this.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Moving on from Heretics, another team that's struggling. I think no stranger to anyone is Fnatic.
Hard. I mean, like, on the one hand, obviously, for many people, this feels like the continuation of the same exact car crash or train wreck that you saw. But just remember that there are new players here, and I feel really bad for the players as well. Because, like you said, this subreddit is like we can meme it, we can have fun, but this subreddit is ruthless, and especially for like Advian and Oscarin, you know, like
Oscarinin. Just call him Oscar. It's okay.
I'm gonna call him Oscar.
Yeah.
Like that sucks.
Yeah.
That's cursed because it's not like this is clearly not. I mean, there are some individual levels, but this is never the team that I think in this circumstance anyone would want to debut on. 3 years ago, you tell a player they get a debut on Fnatic, great. Right now, this split, you tell a player they're debuting on Fnatic, it feels like a death sentence. And that really sucks.
Yeah, it could be career ending. Like if you play bad in the LEC, especially like the top end support coming in as rookies, they have a bad split. And whether it's maybe fault of their own or fault of the actual environment that they're in or the deep end that they've been thrown in, that's it. That's what you will be remembered for.
I think being a rookie and being thrown into spring split from winter split in an already struggling team with so many expectations just because your name is Fnatic, and I just feel bad for Oscar Renan. I think it's hard for him to perform in, I would assume, a very shit environment with fans that are really, really extreme, good and bad. It can be good and bad, and the flame he probably gets, or like the DMs that he probably gets, I don't want to imagine them because I've gotten like DMs or whatsoever, and I've not been in a high tier org. Just imagine being in a high tier org and performing the way he did, because my situation and his situation is actually quite similar. Like when I was in Misfits as well,
You got thrown in deep end.
Exactly, right? But I was in a lower tier organization as well, Obviously there were fans. There was people that were saying good things.
Yeah, but it's not like a TSM or a Fnatic or a G2 or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Fans are extreme. And that's what I don't know. Like it probably gets worse and worse for him, He gets solo killed in Ornn versus Camille when Ornn is winning early game.
Yeah.
He wins really hard early game. And then it's that dive as well. It feels like he has brain fog right now playing, It's like hard for him to breathe. That's what it looks like when he's playing the game. He's choking, which I cannot blame him for.
He's getting attacked. Teams are playing towards topside and they're shutting him down, and rightfully so. He's struggling and teams are clearly taking advantage of that. But I think that like there's a different team or a different version of Fnatic that he could have debuted on where he would have had a fair shot, but this doesn't really feel like a fair shot. Now that's not to say that he hasn't been underperforming, right? Like you can't just shy away from that fact. But
of course, he's been underperforming.
But I think that like what you hope for him at this point is that either in the weeks to come he gets to show more, or that at some point he's going to get another shot. Because right now, it is hard after watching Winter especially to feel like this is anything but another season of doom and gloom for Fnatic. Because 0-3 start, again, you get 3 weeks. Week 1, they got nothing. And I don't think it gets easier. We talked about this before. If your team starts to fall apart, it just keeps falling apart. There's not enough time for most people to turn around a team environment, to turn around communication structures, et cetera. That's why you talked about like it's really important that you have good vibes, good bonds, and maybe they're there. Obviously, it's been mostly quiet from like the Fnatic camp, the Fnatic players. You know what I mean? Maybe they actually do have a good environment and they can turn around the weeks to come. But I think that it's hard not to carry over the disastrous winter from an expectation perspective to Fnatic in spring.
I think it doesn't make sense, the support change they did as well, because I think Rooks and Advienne is actually quite similar in the way they play the game and the champion pools they have. So that was really, really weird of a change, I would say. It feels like it's just a change, just to make a change, Maybe the environment will be better.
Yeah.
And looking at it, it looks like the environment is a little bit better from the vibes that Advienne is giving off and the stuff that I've been hearing about him as well, I have no clue about how Rooks is.
Yeah.
Rooks. So I don't know, but it feels like the problems from the last split is like still there, the tension, the stress, all of that is still there. Just like our team, Astralis had the same problems, the same tension, but we were able to solve it instantly.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was Mickey or one of the LEC support players basically said Advienne is just better at range supports, and that's maybe like a reason why they changed, so they could actually play these Nami lanes, these Heimer lanes, but it's obviously like they picked Zeriash into Zyra Khan.
I think
there were 0 pots to 3.
They lost all 3 pots in the first 3 waves.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I agree with Leader that like without knowing the specific reasons and without talking to the Fnatic staff as to why they made the changes, I think that the one thing we established from in these winter to spring transitions, and I think we might see in the years to come as well, is it's just like if your team bombs, something has to change. You can't focus on improving your problems when you also have to solve a disastrous team issue. And so this is why we talked about a lot. We talked about this about Excel last season. We talked about it about Fnatic. It's like sometimes you have to just change a player to try to like rekindle and restart. Even if it's not someone's fault, you kind of just have to let someone be the martyr so you can get a fresh start. And that sucks. Obviously, sucks for players like Wunder, sucks for players like Rux.
I don't think Wunder was a scapegoat, though. I think Wunder made the decision himself.
Yeah.
To not want to play in the team.
Which if that's true, I don't know all the details.
I think that was what was written.
Okay. Well, there you go. If you got it.
Yeah. Well, and they have so much, like, it's just on fire. Like there's so much to fix. I don't know. Maybe they like the cope is like maybe they get 2 wins this weekend and 2 wins next weekend, and there's a chance because they've already played Vitality.
But who they play?
Who they play this weekend? They already just played Vitality, SKXL, I believe. So SK Vitality are the 2 undefeated teams. So on paper, not the worst. But if they don't turn it around, I mean, they have a longer break until summer. Because of MSI.
That's a real reset. So that's an actual gap.
That's a reset. Because right now it's a soft reset. The problem is you're going to go down the Vitality hole of signing players nonstop and like having them on the bench and like praying that you find a winning formula. They need to make sure they don't go down that hole. Because as much as Vitality is succeeding now, they probably obviously they've spent a lot of money on making sure they can get this right roster.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Fnatic wants to go down that hole of like sign players, does it work? No. Quick bench, sign players, does it work? No. So
yeah, Vitality has more players. It's just insane. Vitality has a lot of players. They have a lot of staff. They got a lot of options if they ever.
A lot of positional coaches.
A lot of positional coaches. The coaches are outweighing the players at this point with all the positional coaches they've got at this stage.
So yeah, that was hopefully they turn around. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, the other doom and gloom is Excel. I think that it's a similar vibe. This one feels less train wrecky. Maybe it's because there's lower expectations on this organization. I'm not sure why it feels different. And ultimately, they were able to get a single win in the previous week, but Limit doesn't feel like it's been a massive upgrade yet. It feels like maybe they need more time. But some of those, the first Annie game was really rough. There are a lot of, I feel like, fumbles there. And some of these other games were difficult as well. Bot lane has been struggling, and I feel like maybe it's Patrick struggling to gel with people. I'm not sure, but this is another team where, again, on paper, you expect at minimum, under just about any circumstance, like middle of the table performance, minimum, like top 5, like 5th.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now we're in a situation where, because Heretics and Fnatic are doing so bad, I think Excel may probably make top 8, but that's why they make top 8. Not because they're playing great, but because there's a team that is now struggling more than they're struggling.
The only thing I would say is the only reason I wouldn't want to shit on XL is because they lost to Vitality in G2. So it's like, okay, their schedule was pretty tough. They beat Fnatic, pretty good game. They lost against Vitality G2. Let's see how next week goes. So they're the team where I'm like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But I'm really worried about bot lane.
Yeah, a team we have to wait and see. Because again, the one team they beat is one of the team that we have zero faith in right now. And yes, they lost to top teams, but we haven't seen them against... We don't really have a good sample for Excel yet. We've seen them beat a team that looks like one of the worst teams in the league, and we've seen them lose to the best teams in the league. So where does that actually put them?
Yeah.
So I think it's I'm not saying you need to judge Excel and to say Excel are super doomed, but I just think that right now we have definitely not seen a complete turnaround, and it might just take a bit more time.
I feel like what we're seeing in the most recent years is names don't mean anything anymore. They
definitely not.
Like, and sometimes for even players, like you can have Jankos smurfing on a team and playing really well and having this MSI champion, but you're not winning. And you can have players like Reckless and Humanoid and Wunder, but it's just not gelling. And the team, the name, the Fnatic, as much as it's been first place all the time and they figured it out, they're not going to figure it out anymore. Like a reality check. Just feel like names have just doesn't matter anymore.
I just wondered, like, yeah, I don't know. I think that there's been a long period of time where we've known that super teams don't always work. And like, really, like the super teams that have worked are more about the relationships that those players had than that, like the star power maybe of those individual players. G2 2019, for example, again, good team environment. SK right now, good team environment, not a super team whatsoever, stepping up. And I just think that it's like, it feels like this is the year where it's finally boiled over and it's finally clear to everybody, that like your team environment needs to be a bigger priority. Because realistically, we should have seen it when Immortals started like VCing Huni and Rain over to NA in like 2016. Like we should have started to realize that like, hey guys, like we need to look more at like team environment. We need to look more at not just like getting the biggest, coolest names you can get, like the TL roster that imploded last year.
And the TL roster now.
The TL roster, I haven't kept up with the TL roster now, but TL roster last year, where you look at that roster and it's like, if this roster doesn't first place smash their way through the entire league the entire year, like what is going on? But I hope that organizations, this is an opportunity for organizations to like reset when they come into next year and be like, okay, let's start with making sure the players we actually want to play around get along with the other players, instead of it just being like, bam, big name, bam, big name, bam, big name, bam, big name. Because it's just clear that it's blowing up in people's faces in a big way.
Scouting's important. Scouting is important.
Yeah. Don't know enough to say 100% what went wrong in the processes. You know what I mean? But I can say that the results aren't there. And it's, it's rough to watch. And I think the saddest part is, like, obviously there are people on the back end, management, et cetera, that are struggling too, and hearts out to them. But for the players that that people actually know, that are actually going to catch this flack, even if it's a problem that should have been solved before these players ever hit the stage. Like, players, because they're the public facing part of this organization, are going to get always going to take the brunt of the shit that goes behind. Like, when a roster is built poorly, players are always going to be blamed.
Yeah, they are.
I think some managers might look at Reddit too much as well when they're making rosters.
Probably.
Looking at like Reddit opinions and like saying, you know what, that guy's right, I'll follow that.
Yeah, I mean, they just look at the comment with the most upvotes and they're like, maybe we should sign this guy now. That guy looks good.
They win community sentiment.
Yeah. People do this.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It wouldn't surprise me, but also I feel bad because we're like pro players. They're the vulnerable ones. And then we're like, time to shit on the managers. I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like it's hard sometimes. It's obviously always going to be a lot of compounding factors. And without inside information, it's hard to know exactly where it went wrong. But I agree that in the past, I had a manager come to me once to ask about a player. And I was like, you need to chill. Because I was like, yes, me. And I was like,
I've had it as well.
I know this person very well.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what they're like as a human being. I cannot tell you what they are like in a team environment.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you what they are like in scrims. I have not been there.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I have praised this player because I see that this player is good on stage, but also I am not an expert.
Exactly.
Like, I will tell you that. But the funny thing is there's probably a lot of people that when they do get asked questions like that are like, yeah, this guy's sick, like completely unaware of their own ignorance. Like, I understand League at a pretty high level, not high enough to be making any kind of team decision.
Yeah.
I would go ask you if I want to get a mid laner. Hey, how's this guy play, mid lane 1v1s? I wouldn't watch and then make like, it's so crazy to me.
It's, I don't know. Yeah.
Incompetence, which happens.
I mean, or over faith in your own abilities, or misplaced faith in the wrong areas. It's just it happens, but it sucks because again, orgs and players suffer as a result.
True. On the other hand, there is still people who.
There are people out there who are killing it. Not all managers are trolling.
I watched this documentary on Jin Air yesterday. There's this guy called H-Dragon who was a StarCraft coach in 2005 for Jin Air. And he was a StarCraft coach for like 8 years, right? And he got like Jaedong, who was like one of the best StarCraft players ever.
I remember Jaedong.
And he was like popping off. He coached him. Jaedong like left him. And then he was the coach for the StarCraft 2 team and the League of Legends team with its sister team. He was the coach for all three, scouted players for the League team. And actually, because they were a small budget team, teams would buy them at the offseason, right? So he would put these players up and up and up. Team players like Teddy, for example, or Pilots, where they would go on to succeed perhaps in teams like the LPL, Mystic, who went to WE. And he just tanked it until the end of like 2021 or 2020 when Jin Air got relegated. For like 15 years, he was coaching 2 different esports and also scouting players at the highest level, making them make top 6, top 5 at best, because they could never have the biggest budget to get players everywhere. And then they would steal their players. And you know what? He tanked it. And he was like, you know what? My job now as a manager and a coach and a roster builder is to make you as a player succeed in the long term. So come to Jin Air. That's what I can promise you. Because I can promise you that you'll get to a top team. Eventually someone took over the StarCraft and he was focusing on League, and now he's like an agent, I think. But the entire like documentary about him was so insane, because before he was a professional kickboxer and he was number 1 in Korea.
That sounds pretty insane.
Like number 1
sounds insane.
Number 1 Korean kickboxer in 2002 or 2003, and then he went into that role of esports, which is just such a turnaround to do that, but such good mental fortitude that he can give these players so much, maybe not the best game knowledge, but like coach them, manage them, and then send them off to the best teams.
Winner mentality.
Or alternatively, and this is the thing that you don't often get in documentaries, because like when you make a documentary, you build these things up, it's often like the one person at the top that gets all the praise. Like everyone's like, Steve Jobs iPhone. Steve Jobs didn't make an iPhone. I mean, ultimately he didn't make. A lot of people had to make that thing, and that's what I'm saying. Is it's like his big strength will look back and be like, he did all these things, but maybe the other thing that he did was say, hey, I actually don't know this, so I'm gonna talk to the guy who does and make sure that I'm making the best
which is the
possible,
right thing to do.
Which turns out is really important. Like it's not one person versus the world. As much fun as those stories are, it's like it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help from other people. You don't need to be the person who does
Some
it
people
all.
come in and they're like, I know the answer.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, shut up, not again.
You don't know the answer.
Yeah.
You don't know the answer.
Yeah.
Ego problem. Happens.
Maybe. Yeah, happens to the best of us. Anyway, this has been kind of a little bit of a doomer discussion in terms of the fate of a lot of teams. That said, week 2 is around the corner, and there's some banger games. G2 versus Vitality. Leader. Who's taking it? Who wins?
Ooh.
This is the caster test.
Caster test.
See if you can be a caster in the future. You're going to sell it to us.
Sell it, Leader. Sell it.
It's very hard. I think if Vitality bot lane gets a good matchup, I think they might take it, honestly. Because I think they're playing really, really good. They make the right decisions around bot lane, it looks like. And I feel like Mickey might get caught in that trap, in that net. Mickey tends to do stuff like that. But then again, Mickey will play the situations well as well. So these situations might turn out in favor for G2, you know. So it's hard to say, really.
Do you think these are the 2 best bot lanes in our league right now?
For sure.
Can we just you know, winning drafts for bot lane, can we just... Are you saying they should ban Draven?
I think
against G2?
I think it's a good idea to ban Draven.
Yeah. You think so?
I think
really?
Don't have ego, just ban the Draven. It's okay. You don't have a counter pick, guys. There's no counters to that champion if the enemy is a X1 trick.
Yeah, with a 27 KDA.
Can we get that clipped out for social? Just Leader being like, it's okay, guys, no ego, there's no counters, it's going to be fine, and we'll just link that every time someone doesn't ban Draven against Hansan.
It's just one ban. It's okay. And what side? Who's on blue side?
Who's on blue side?
I actually don't know.
I can check for
I
you
think
on
blue side will win.
I'll check the lolesports schedule, but from the last few weeks, I've told that the lolesports schedule is not accurate. Looks like G2 is blue side.
Then G2 will win.
Well, I see G2 red on the wiki, but I don't know.
Oh, really? I just see it on the schedule.
What? If you got it on the schedule, you know what?
So you're saying whoever's blue side will win?
Whoever's blue side will win.
There it is.
There it is.
Because blue side usually gets the stronger bot lane.
Because they get first choice. But red side gets counter support.
Counter support doesn't matter that much
So
because people pick bot lanes together. Because Lucian Nami, Zaya, whatever. Rakan is usually banned now. Just Zaya on its own, it's OP. Zeri, any first pick. Ashe, Varus, so many champs that you can first pick.
Yeah, if you first pick like something like Gragas as well, then they pick bot lane 1-2, then you pick bot lane 2-3, right? So
yeah, but the thing is G2 is on red side, which I think red side should draft their top side 1-2-3. So and who is Vitality mid and top? It's Photon and Perks. I think they might struggle against BB caps, honestly, especially on red side.
Interesting. So solo lane's favorite red side, bot lane favorite blue side.
Yes. Actually, I think G2 will win, no matter what side they are.
Okay.
Dang.
G2 will win?
G2 are going to win.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're too flexible on both solo lanes, and they're too broken on blue side. I think that's
the thing. Do you pick red side and give them the strongest bot lane, or do you pick blue side and then play against their psycho flexes?
We'll find out. I mean, right now it feels like G2 are cut above. The only team really taking them down is Astralis. Again, didn't think we'd be here, but there it is. Irelia King. 3 games for you this weekend. BDS, Mad, Vitality. Who are you the most excited to play up against in terms of either individual matchup or mid jungle? Like what matchup is getting you fired up?
I think the one that we're going to play mid jungle heavily against would probably be Mad Lions, I would say. I think they're a mid-centric team.
Misky Yo, that's banger.
But I think we're just better than them in playing mid jungle.
I like your confidence.
And I think Jonghoon and Hilly is actually kind of similar as well. So it might not even be a 2-2, but more like a 3-3 in mid lane. So the game is going to be explosive around mid, I think. Against Vitality, I think it's going to be much more slower. The game is revolved around bot lane. What side are we against Vitality?
Dude, I don't know.
No idea.
I can't.
No idea.
I hope we are blue side. Otherwise, if we're red side, I think me, Finn, and Boom, or like 1 on 3, are going to take some responsibility.
Yep.
The boys.
Yeah, we're going to...
Gonna hold Perks accountable.
Yeah.
You make a thread?
Yeah, I think Perks is doing his job, but I think he's a little bit vulnerable as well.
A little bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
You won't say where, but he is a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah, he's a bit vulnerable.
Okay, that's what I like to hear.
There it is. That's what I like to hear.
Pass the test for the cast.
Caedrel, is there any other banging matchups you're excited for before we close out for the day?
You know what? I just hope everyone has fun.
I hope everybody has fun too.
I hope
we
everyone
have
has fun.
Yeah, I saw it was sick.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Actually, I am excited. Heretics XL.
You can pick one leader champion that's guaranteed to get played next week. What is it?
Ooh.
What would you 100% would be the thing that you want to see the most?
I know him well enough to say that I think your Akali is probably your favorite champ or like your most played champ. So you'll probably play an Akali game.
No. What do you want to see? Like you
what I want to see? I want to see a Zed, dude. Where's his Zed?
It's banned.
Yeah, it's in the Koi game. It's banned.
It's banned and hard to pick a bit.
Oh, it's banned by your own team, or what?
Okay,
no, banned by me some games.
Oh, damn it!
I want a Yone or a Yasuo game personally. Preferably Yone because I just feel like that champion
or an Ignite Azir
has a better
Electrocute.
Electrocute Ignite Azir I'll also take. Actually, let's do Electrocute Ignite Azir just because it's so funny.
It's not gonna happen. He's not that much of a cycle that you'll do it on stage.
You say it, but then someone. He is the guy who will lock it on stage. Stop saying it. He's the guy who will do it.
I'm looking at his Azir games on stage. He's done it once.
All right.
I have?
You did it once against SK Prime in 2021. Electrocute Azir.
Oh. That game, I was crazy, by the way.
How do you remember that?
I remember that game. Enemy Orianna roamed to bot lane because his wave was doomed. So I was like 40 CS up at minute 10, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
but enemy had card to Senna and they outscaled us and we lost.
Well,
there it is. I don't know how you remember that.
I remember most official games.
Okay, that's good.
I remember my first Jace game as well. We were playing Jace Nunu mid jungle. And my LeBlanc game, we played Nunu LeBlanc mid jungle.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I can't find it that quickly, but yeah, we'll say that you did. You know what?
I played a set game against Camille Ivern.
Oh my god.
I played the Corki game.
All right.
Against Galio.
All right. Your memory is great. You have passed the test. Congratulations. You're the mid laner with the best memory.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, leader.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck in the practice, bro. I hope it's a good week for you overall.
I hope so as well.
Yeah, G2 versus Vitality is our match of the week. But again, BDS Mad Vitality, the matches for Astralis. Tune in Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Sunday's my birthday.
For LEC. Sunday's Mr. Mark's birthday. Woo. Be there for the big birthday matchup. And we'll see you guys this weekend.
See ya
next week. Bye.